Thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Today we're going to be talking about LearnDash and WooCommerce, and this is going to be an intro because we're hoping to do a series of these. So we're going to cover a couple things today. If something catches your eye, you want to know more about something else, please let us know, and we'll be happy to dive more into that in the future. I'm James Tryon. I'm a training specialist here at LearnDash. I started learning using WordPress in 2007. I'm the lead organizer of WordCamp Orlando. I'm the ambassador of Wapoos. If you don't know what Wapoo is, it's the unofficial mascot of WordPress. It's a little yellow creature. I'm a father. I love my family, and I'm a big fan of toys. You can find me online. If you have already a part of this webinar, you know I'm in the Facebook group. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like. Today, we're going to cover a couple things. The benefits of using a larger e-commerce solution. We're going to review changes in the settings for WordPress, WooCommerce, and LearnDash. And we're going to look how to link your courses to LearnDash specific products and how to set up some redirects. More details on this can be found at this in our support documentation here at this link. The slides and this presentation should be recorded, and we should be able to get those out to you at some point. I don't know if this will be added to YouTube or if this will be directly emailed out in the future, but we will be recording this as long as it doesn't fail on export. Okay, so a couple assumptions going forward. We're going to assume in this webinar that you already have WooCommerce installed, that you're not necessarily using it for LearnDash, but at least you have it installed, it's configured, your shortcodes are in your cart pages and your checkout pages and your account and all that. So you have your basic shortcode set up, and you have your settings set up and your address and currency. If you wanted a more detailed webinar on that, just let us know. But this isn't necessarily about setting up WooCommerce, it's about tying them together. Same thing with LearnDash. We're assuming you already have a course set up, that you are already selling or giving away your courses, and now you're looking to sell them differently or with a larger platform. And again, we're assuming you already have your course content created. Today, what we're going to be using, the bare necessities, are going to be LearnDash. Now, you don't have to have version 3.1.4. That's the version that I'm using. I know if you use version 3.1.4, it's going to work. Same thing, I'm using the current version of WooCommerce. I don't necessarily recommend going and updating WooCommerce without testing it in a test environment, testing all these things first in your own environment in a staging situation before pushing live, because 4.0 just dropped like 2 days ago. I am testing in this demo with that. We wanted to make sure that it was somewhat working. As far as somewhat, it is working. As far as the actual integration, we're going to need the WooCommerce for LearnDash plugin. We're using 1.6. Now, the one thing to keep in mind about using WooCommerce, and I'll talk more about the benefits in a moment, but WooCommerce itself does take a lot more to set up. It takes a little bit more of a learning curve than even setting up, or even the first time you learn WordPress. It's a larger, intense plugin. It can do a tremendous amount for you, but know that going in that it can be a tad daunting if you've never done it before. Okay, so some of the benefits of WooCommerce when using LearnDash is, first off, the community. I mean, our community already is great. Our Facebook group is one of the best Facebook groups I've ever been a part of. Everyone is super friendly and very helpful there. But WordPress in general is also that way. So when you can leverage that WordPress community in WooCommerce, you also get that same level, maybe not the same level, but pretty close to it, of support and help. You get premium plugins that you can do almost anything with. If you can think about a feature you want to extend your courses, you can do that with WooCommerce. So we have a lot of our clients that will sell packages or they'll sell subscriptions using the subscriptions plugin through WooCommerce. We'll have some of our clients that actually want to sell swag too. So they'll set up like a drop shipper using someone like Printful, and they'll sell product where they never actually have to touch the product, but they're also selling product along with their courses. You could do this if you were a school. You could sell your school sweaters, your t-shirts, your gym uniforms that way if you needed a way to actually make those transactions. You have more control over the checkout experience. You have several gateways. So LearnDash by default comes with a couple gateways. We have Stripe, PayPal, and I think there's a couple more. But if you go to WooCommerce and leverage that larger platform, you have hundreds, if not a lot more than that, and you can make your custom gateway. We have made custom gateways in the past for smaller banks or credit unions who offer an API, but they don't offer a plugin. WooCommerce makes that very easy to leverage that with. If you're a developer, you can follow along with the documentation. You can sell, you have more control over the emails that are sent out. You can offer coupons and discounts. Now, I don't always recommend coupons and discounts, but you do have the ability to offer those. Maybe it's a Black Friday deal or Cyber Monday, but again, you have that ability moving more towards a WooCommerce environment. You can bundle things and more, like loyalty points, gamification, affiliate programs. Now, you can do a lot of these things outside of WooCommerce. You can do them directly with LearnDash, but leveraging WooCommerce does make it easier. You can use other e-commerce platforms like Easy Digital Downloads if you wanted to, but today we're just talking about WooCommerce. This isn't WooCommerce is the best, but WooCommerce is pretty good, and they all have their pros and cons. And as far as a couple other things, it's pretty flexible for selling your courses. If you want to sell them as one-offs or subscriptions, or if you want to sell them with, add-on material that's like gets shipped. So let's say you have a whole course, but you want to actually ship books or testing material to the person. You could leverage WooCommerce to help manage that. So it makes the already very powerful LearnDash very powerful. You can extend it to cover all your needs. So the only time that I think that you might not want to use WooCommerce and LearnDash, and I don't know if you don't want to. In fact, I think you still might, but there's other options. It would be like a membership site. Sometimes a membership site might actually tie in directly to that e-commerce and then manage your enrollment for you. But either way, we can talk about that in a future webinar. Linking LearnDash to WooCommerce. It's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is install a single plugin. Now, there's other settings you have to do, but as far as tying LearnDash to WooCommerce, there's only one thing you have to do, and that is install the WooCommerce for LearnDash plugin. You can get that through your settings, through your LearnDash account, or you can do it through the add-ons. I want to show you that real fast. So if you come over here to your LearnDash account, add-ons, if you have an active LearnDash account, your add-ons menu will show. And then you can come over here and install the WooCommerce for LearnDash. Now again, I would make sure that you did this in a staging environment. You would test everything before pushing live and make sure everything is working and safe. You don't want to just do any of these things that we're doing in production. You want to make sure they're tested. But all you would have to do is click activate. There's no settings needed to actually do anything else with LearnDash and WooCommerce. Okay, so moving on. So the next thing you need to do is you need to actually adjust some of the settings in WooCommerce. You might already have these settings set up, but we want to review them just in case. I have a screenshot here below, but I'm also going to go over them in a moment. So first off, we want to make sure that we're disabling guest access. The reason we want to disable guest access is that we want people to register when they check out. With guest access, that means they wouldn't necessarily register. It wouldn't force them to register, and then you wouldn't have an email address to tie that course to. So we're going to turn off guest registration, and then we're going to allow customers to create an account during checkout. Now there's another step that actually has to happen in WordPress, and we'll get to that in a moment, but I'm only going to show you the 2 settings you have to change in WooCommerce. So we're going to go over here to WooCommerce now. Again, we're assuming WooCommerce is already working. So we're going to go to settings, and now you let anyone guest check out. People come and buy your e-learning material, your books, your PDFs. In other words, they were just buying them without signing up for an account. Now we're going to change that. We're going to come over here
as you're showing that, James, I just want to point out that one reason that this would be good, and this comes up a lot in either the Facebook group or we see it to our support desk, is sometimes folks are worried about fraudulent purchases of their courses. People coming in, buying their courses, and asking for their money back for whatever reason. For example, they didn't get the material or whatnot. If they have an account, you have records of that. So in some cases, if they raise a credit card dispute or whatever and say, oh, it was not delivered, product wasn't delivered, then this is one point of evidence that you can have that it was in fact delivered. I mean, that happens time to time. It's never fun to deal with that. Another thing that's nice, James mentioned about sending physical products in addition to your course. I think people overlook that when you do that, you can get a tracking number, and then that verifies that the purchase actually was delivered. And that can also be used as evidence for the delivery of your course, that somebody actually received what they paid for. Because unfortunately, some folks will just say, yeah, I never got the material or I never got the course, I want my money back, when we all know that's not the case. But all right, I'll let you take over, James, but I just wanted to add that point.
No, those are great points. Thanks. You can see here that we have guest checkout. Allow customers to place an order without an account. That's not checked. And I have allow them to log into an existing account during checkout, and allow them to create an account from my account page. So that's right here, and that's all you have to do. Like usually that's checked. You just want to make sure those 2 things are checked. Also, while we're here, well, we'll come back. I told myself I would follow my notes. So as far as the actual WordPress settings go, now that you're allowing people to create an account, you probably already have this set up with WooCommerce. If you went through the WooCommerce getting started with guide at the very beginning when you installed that, you would have already set this up. But what we're going to do is we want to make sure that WordPress is going to allow user registration. Now, there is other times you might not do this. Again, if you're using a membership plugin, they might handle that on their own. If you're using like Gravity Forms or something else, you could completely turn this feature off and add members other ways through different payments. This is just one setup, and this is the recommendation for this basic setup with WooCommerce. You don't have to do it this way, but this is what we would recommend if you don't have anything crazy or custom going on. So you would go to Settings, General, and you would make sure anyone can register. And these are the 2 options I would choose. I would choose customer or subscriber. If for some reason you don't have the customer, you don't have WooCommerce installed yet, I would go to subscriber. I would not select other roles as default. So let me show you that real fast. That's going to be underneath Settings, General. And it's right here, members, anyone can register. And this is all your different user roles. You want to make sure it's customer, which is tied to WooCommerce. Okay, so this is the thing that I was almost jumped to a moment ago. Now, when out of the box, WooCommerce wants to assign a password, and it wants you to use your email address or surname or something like that for the email for your username. So if we go back to our WooCommerce settings right here, we can see when customers, when creating an account, automatically generate a username, and when creating an account, automatically generate a password. So if I uncheck both of these, and I save this page, what I want to do is load this incognito window over here. And on the checkout window, I might have erased this cart, but we'll see. If I refresh this page, yeah, I need to add something to my cart real fast. I can actually add my own username and create my own password. So this is big. This comes up a couple times, at least once a week in the forums and Facebook. Is how do I set the password or how do I set a username? And it's usually these two settings right here. So if I come in and I check these, if I check both of these and I hit update, which again I'm saying I want the system to assign the username and I want the system to assign the password. I'm going to come over here and refresh. Those are now gone. So if you ever wanted to assign those yourself, they're right here inside the settings, inside WooCommerce. Okay, so moving back to the presentation. So next what we need to do is we have user registration set up, so now anyone can register properly. Guest registration is on, and we guest checkout is off, but anyone can register. And now we need to actually adjust a product. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to a product we want to tie to WooCommerce. We want to scroll to the product data area. We want to change a couple of the settings here. By default, we always want to check. We want to check virtual product. We want to make sure that we also assign the proper related course to it in the dropdown, and we want to pick course. Now, I did hesitate when I said virtual product there because earlier, like I said, it doesn't always have to be virtual product. It could be a good, it could be something else, but you still want to attach the related course to it, and I'll show you that in a second. It could also be a variant product. It could also be a bundled product. So also, if you want a simple bundled product, you can even just hit select and hit multiple of these courses. So when you actually buy one product, you're getting added to multiple courses. So the product itself is creating the bundle instead of bundling multiple WooCommerce products together. But okay, well, let's look at that.
Yeah, and as you navigate there, James, I'll point out that that's actually a really popular option that people use with WooCommerce and LearnDash is creating bundles. And you mentioned before about the possibility that some folks may have membership sites. If you had a simple idea for how you wanted to manage memberships, and here's an example we see a lot. Sometimes folks want to offer multiple courses, like for one-off sales, but then also have membership levels that include multiple courses, like half the courses, and then maybe another membership level that includes everything. That would be possible just with WooCommerce. You could create products that were associated to one course, so people could buy it one at a time. Then you could create a product that is including multiple courses, be it all of them or some of them. And those would be, in essence, and I'm using air quotes here, membership levels that would give people access to all the content instead of just one by one. So it's just something to think about if you don't want to mess with membership plugins in addition to shopping carts. You can do it all with just LearnDash and WooCommerce.
Okay, so I'm looking at our content marketing course, and I'm scrolling down to product details, and it says that it's a course. When you added the LearnDash plugin, the WooCommerce LearnDash plugin, it added this product type, and this is where we can now say it's a course. And you can select from the related courses here. I can select multiple. I can select now if someone buys this, they're going to add it to the free course and the content marketing course. I want to go ahead and hit update. And make sure all that's covered. Cool. And now what you can do is by default, when you place an order, it just shows you the checkout page. So if you want to fancy up the checkout page just a little bit, what you can do is you can add a purchase note. So you'll see that in the email. You'll see that on the order screen. So in case you can't set up the redirect, didn't set up the redirect, or don't quite want to take away the receipt view, but still want to tell the the customer what to do next, you can add a purchase note. And that's underneath the advanced tab on the product. So we're going to look over here. We're still on the content marketing tab. We're going to go over here to advanced, and there's a purchase note. I'm going to hit paste. It's just my note from earlier. Now, what I did do here is I'm sending it to the all courses page. I could send this anywhere. This can be any link that you want it to be. In fact, yeah, we'll just leave it like that and hit update. So now if you place an order, that's going to show up in the order and the emails and the order history and so on.
Yeah, that's really useful that it goes in the emails as well. So if you think about your customers, they purchase the course, they may jump right in and start taking the content, but they may come back later and just kind of forget, like, oh, wait, where was that course? And they go to their receipt and like, there it is. And they have the link, direct link right in their email.
So this slide itself is a quick overview of how online payments work and how someone gets automatically added to a course. So by default, if you have a virtual payment and someone buys a course, a virtual product and someone buys your course, it's going to automatically mark them as complete. They're going to be added to the course for you. If it's an online payment, if it's an offline payment or a check or something that you have to verify, that payment's going to be marked as processing. And that's not going to add them to the course right away. So that's the difference. Now, when you do receive that payment and mark it complete, it will automatically add them to the course. So you don't have to worry about adding them. All you have to do is change the order status and they're going to be added. So you don't really have to worry about it. You just have to change it once the funds clear. Now, what you can do with a real product, it's going to still set it as processing because you have to ship the actual order. But when a real product has a course assigned to it, it will automatically add them to the course, still set it to processing, but automatically add them, and then you can fulfill the order when you can. Now, the last thing that you might want to do, and this is not something I recommend, but it might come up, is how do I let someone start without paying? Now, this might happen in a school or an organization, a nonprofit. This isn't something that I would recommend for most cases, but occasionally this might come up. And this plugin, autocomplete WooCommerce orders, you can set it to different order types. If you set it to virtual product only, this is a good solution for that type of environment where maybe you're teaching the less fortunate and they need to make payments, or it's donation only, or it's pay what you want, or something like that. This plugin would help. But again, I would not recommend this on a real e-commerce site. Accidentally make a new product type and the payment doesn't clear. So use at your own risk. It's a cool little plugin. Okay. So the last thing we need to do, we tied WooCommerce to LearnDash. We've tied the product to the course. Now what we need to do is tell LearnDash to no longer try to sell that course. So by default, you're going to have open or free or buy now or reoccurring if you were using the LearnDash system. If you're using WooCommerce now, you need to change that to close. And what close means is LearnDash is no longer going to allow to be purchased to it. So it's not closed like not for sale, just LearnDash isn't going to sell to it. And then the button URL is a redirect to when you click the course button that it tells you what you're actually looking at. Let me show you that real fast.
Yeah, just to say that in another way too, if folks may be confused, is when you set a course access mode to close, it just means that when somebody comes to the course, they cannot register themselves for that course using the LearnDash registration. There's not going to be a button there by default unless you use that custom button URL field that James was talking about. And with that custom button URL, you're linking to that WooCommerce product. So if somebody came to the course page, clicks that take this course button, it's going to take them to the WooCommerce product to purchase, and then WooCommerce and the integration, that's what's going to facilitate the enrollment.
Cool. So this is that button, and yeah, thanks, Justin. That makes it much clearer. This button when you have it tied to WooCommerce that's set to close. This URL will link to this button. And what we recommend doing is you can tie that directly to the WooCommerce product page, or if you want to take it a step further, you can tie that all the way to add to cart. So by clicking this take this course button, you can then dump it directly to your cart. So let me show you that.
The difference between those two is that if you go to the product page, it's the WooCommerce product description, and then a customer would still have to add it to their cart. What James is describing is bypassing that step, and just when they click it, it's in their cart, and they're looking to check out.
You're right. I should have actually clicked the button before saying that. So like this is what Justin just said. If I click this is going directly to the WooCommerce product, and then you would have to click add to cart again. If you added ! add to cart with the ID, so it's your site /cart / add to cart, assuming cart is your cart page, that would automatically add this course ID. This is actually the product ID to your cart. So you can bypass this step if you use this type of formatted link. Okay. So we're running over a little bit on time, and the last part is the redirect. So if you're okay with it, if no one has a problem, I like to keep going. If that's cool with everyone. Okay. So the post-purchase redirects, there's a couple options here. You can code it yourself, you can add a basic plugin, or you can pick a premium plugin. All three have pros and cons. It really depends on how far you want to take what you're doing. So the first step of code it yourself is kind of a hybrid of this example here, of this code snippet. I would recommend taking this code snippet and putting it in a theme-specific plugin that's tied to your business. So it's like, your brand-specific plugin that's tied to your business. So as you change your themes, you're not going to lose this function, and it's not going to get lost in the admin, and you're not managing it based off a plugin. I would actually put that in a proper plugin and test it as you go and change things. But if you're in a pinch, this is a good solution. This function is going to take the order received URL and redirect it to whatever URL you would like. So this is kind of a generic catch-all. What I would do here, if I was to use this snippet, is redirect it to the courses page if I was just selling courses. And this code snippet plugin would allow you to do this, and you can tell it to run only in the front end. Granted, I would not recommend doing this on production. I would do this for testing purposes and then move it to a proper plugin. Here's the code a little larger so you can see this a little better. This is a cool example. I'm not saying this is the best example, but you're like, well, what if I have two things in my cart? Well, this is an example of two things or three things, or how you might want to manage multiple cases. It's not the best example, but it is an example of how you can continue on that logic if you wanted to. Okay. Joe's a great online instructor. You've probably seen some of his videos he's done with us. Great guy. He's also created this GitHub plugin. It's a simple plugin, but it will give you the ability to set a thank you page on whatever product you want, right here from the actual general product description area where we selected the course. So this is a great solution, but this isn't something that's highly maintained. This is a community GPL project, and we would encourage everyone to give back if you like this or have some feature requests, but this will do a lot for you. This plugin is great compared to what I want to show you, which is also good, but this is free. The ones I want to show you next are not. So also, if you want to do a blanket custom URL, this WP customs thank you. The problem with this plugin is it hasn't been updated in 2 years, but the WooCommerce redirect function hasn't changed in 2 years. So it's a simple plugin. It does a simple function. It has like 10,000 downloads, 5-star review. So the age itself usually is a concern, but it's still a decent plugin if you need a blanket thank you page. Now here's some premium options if you don't want to code it yourself, you want more control, you want to be able to set up use cases, different user funnels. Here's 3 semi inexpensive options, and a lot of our users seem to really like Cartflow. Cartflow is going to do a lot more than just this, but if you go to the Cartflow route, you can benefit from that as well. There is a free version. Okay, user experience. Now that we have WooCommerce set up, you have a customer, they can come in from browse your site, normal browsing. They can buy through the WooCommerce shop. They can browse through the LearnDash course grid, and they might browse through like a landing page that you might set up with a Cartflow or some other landing page service that then would then work through your e-commerce system. So now that you have WooCommerce installed, you have a lot more touch points with your customers to be able to work that SEO value, show off your courses, tell your users how great your platform is, and all of it should be able to be handled pretty easily with a couple settings. Like if you can see, a lot of what I did today was just check some boxes and make sure the settings were configured. There wasn't much coding besides the redirect, and there is actually a couple redirect options you can do without having to code. So we did run a little over today, about 35 minutes with a presentation. But if you have some questions, I'm happy to stick around a little bit and answer some questions.
Yeah, thanks, James, so much for kind of putting this together and a general run through. I know it was quick. For some of you maybe thinking that went across a little bit snappy. That was the intent. We'll have this recording, so of course you'll have access to that. We have time for questions as well. And then the idea is if there's something, question or a topic that's coming up based on this presentation, we can have another session and you can join us for that, and we can maybe dive in a little bit deeper into those topics. So with that said, I'll open up to questions now. There is a Q&A section that you can post your question in, and there's some that have come in. Dennis, what's the difference in user workflow between buying a course or simple product type? I think he's talking about the WooCommerce product type, James. I think that's what he meant by that.
So what's the difference between buying a course and a simple product type? So so by default, there's not. That's part of the beauty of WordPress. You can snazzy up any of these pages you want. You can use any of your page builders, Gutenberg, Beaver Builder, Elementor, to take your actual simple product page and expand that and make it a whole salesy, nice, full-on sales page if you want. If you want to bypass that WooCommerce product experience and still gain all the benefits of WooCommerce, then you can add on the course overview page, add the add to cart button there, and then you can also set up a redirect on that single product to maybe go to the course view. So then you're filling out the course body with all the actual SEO value and fancy images and stuff. Those are one option. Another option would be to use a landing page or a funnel plugin to then hijack that flow and take over the course product view. So by default, the single product and a course buying experience right now would be the same, but happy to do a webinar on extending a fancier checkout process of WooCommerce.
Okay, so another question, actually a follow-up from Dennis, is can the closed access mode button URL, where we pasted the URL for the course or for the product in WooCommerce, can that just use the slugs of the page rather than the full URL?
Yes. Yes, it can, but I would not recommend doing that in the email, in the order notes, because the order notes would probably go to an email at some point, and if you just have the /, that wouldn't work. But if you're doing it on the LearnDash course button option, that would be perfectly fine. The / cart value. You would like, so I'm sorry, I can bring up an image real fast to see if that helps. So what he's talking about is on the course button here. Does this have to be the full URL? See, I had it just the / there. But on the order notes, you would want it to be the full URL.
Good question. Claudia, using LearnDash, sold through a vendor. About to officially open a first course, but I hope to enable WooCommerce soon. It was helpful. Well, that's great. I'm glad you found this helpful. And WooCommerce is, it is really great. And I think this presentation does highlight some areas in WooCommerce, though. You can start going in many different directions. I mean, we did this in what James went through in 25, 30 minutes. And we even touched on some extracurricular stuff like post-purchase redirects, right? That's not required. We wanted to at least mention it because it does come up often, but that's not a requirement. You don't need to configure that. So you could just use the notes, the notes that where we had like a link to the course James highlighted in the very beginning. That could just be used, and you don't have to worry about the redirect stuff. But same with landing pages, etc. There's many directions this can go, and some of those directions are outlined on our support site already with videos and documentation. It's if you just go to learndash.com/support and in the search type WooCommerce, that'll bring you right to the relative article, and you can check out those setup videos and just those other options. But in terms of just setting up a course with LearnDash and WooCommerce, hopefully this highlighted the simple process. You install the integration. When you create your product in WooCommerce, you just link it via this new setting from the integration to you link the course and the product together. And then when the product's purchased, the user's enrolled. And James highlighted like the one setting with the guest checkout that had to be adjusted. So that's all there really is to it. So a few questions coming in about a copy of the webinar. Yes, we are recording this, and assuming the recording goes well and there's, it's usable, we're going to make it available and likely on the YouTube channel. We'll post when it's available on the as well in the Facebook group, possibly even a blog post about it as well. So yeah, it will be available. I don't have the exact timeline when that is the case, but we'll try to get it wrapped up and posted relatively quickly. Looking at the questions, if you have any questions, we're going to wrap up here pretty quickly, but rest assured we'll be back doing more webinars, especially with selling courses. I think that folks are really interested in that and the options, be it with WooCommerce or easy digital downloads, maybe comparing those two. I mean, we're going to think about what is best. We'll also inquire with you guys if you have any topics that you'd like us to cover. If you have suggestions, please post them now. If something's at the top of your mind, we'll write those down as we start mapping out what it is we're going to be covering in future webinars. Let's see here. We have a question from Teresa. I saw an example with WooCommerce checkout where the buyer just had to input a password only and it pulled the email address as the username. It could have been a unique plugin. Have you heard of that? So sounds like Teresa saw an example of where somebody was purchasing a product, just put in a password, and the username was the email used. I don't think unless I'm mistaken, I don't think I've come across that. I don't know, James, have you seen that or played around with that configuration?
Maybe, yeah, a little. So I think what she's saying is she's seen someone use the email address as the username, and also.
I think she's implying that it was automatically created with the username, like the customer didn't enter the email as username. Oh, yeah. Just it became their username.
Oh, correct. So that's part of the WooCommerce settings here. So if I go to settings, that's where I was saying where you can pick your username, you can pick your email, or you don't. So if I go to accounts and privacy, it's these two right here. So I can create an account. I'm sorry, it's here, this one. I'm staring right at it and I don't see it. Here, sorry, it's right
Yeah,
here. This one, well, this is checked, it'll generate your username for you. It's going to try to use an email address or a surname or their first name, whatever is available based off of their user profile that they filled out. So
great.
if this isn't checked, if this is checked and they're checking out through WooCommerce, it would email them all their account details.
Perfect. Thanks, Teresa, for that question. So with that, I'm actually going to end this presentation. We want to thank you so much for joining us. We want to give you back the rest of your time and your day, and hopefully we'll see you on a future webinar. Again, if you have any suggestions for them, don't hesitate. Post them in our Facebook group. Just start a new thread. Say, have an idea for a webinar, and let's see what people think, and we'll jot them down. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. Have a great day. Stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks.